If you've ever wanted to teach a bow building class, this video is for you. Maybe you're a high school teacher or a college professor, or maybe you lead a youth group, or maybe you teach a woodworking class or a science class, or maybe you just want to build bows with your friends. Whatever the case may be, building a bow doesn't have to be complicated and it doesn't have to be expensive. In this video, we're going to cover what's the best style of bow to build, what's the best material to build a bow with and how to source materials, do you need a bow backing, what's the best way to source a bowstring, what sort of arrow should I get, and teaching tips at the end. I've also created a PDF for the ideal, simplest, easiest bow you can build. I've created a PDF for you that you can have for free. I'll put a link in the description, but here it is as well on the screen. I've also created 3 teaching plans, one for a woodworking class, one for a science class, and then one for a youth group. And so those are also available in the description of the video. If you're teaching in one of those areas, then this can help be a template of kind of a lesson plan sort of thing. Before we get into all the details, let me give you a big picture of what I'm going to recommend. This is what I'm going to recommend you build. It is a hickory longbow, and I'll get into the reasons why I recommend it, but this is the goal if you're going for the easiest, simplest, most likely to succeed method. All right, let's dive into the details. What is the easiest style of bow to build? Well, it's a longbow. If you want the details on how to build a bow like this just from the beginning, check out this video right here. This is going to be my recommendation for the easiest style of bow to build with the highest chance of success and the least amount of complications. One of the things that makes this bow build so easy is that you don't even need a backing. This is a hickory bow, and hickory is so strong that you don't even need a backing. A backing is something that makes the back of the bow, the side facing the target, stronger and keeps it from lifting up a splinter. Well, with a hickory bow, if the bow's not too heavy, you don't even need a backing, which means you don't need any glue up. So if you're going for the easiest, simplest method, a hickory longbow, no backing, making it less than 40 pounds. And that's what the PDF I made is suggesting. That's what the layout is for this exact bow right here, a 40-pound bow. And then to make it less draw weight, you just evenly remove wood after the tiller's good. Now you might be asking, what is a longbow? Well, a longbow is different from a recurve in that the string doesn't touch the limb at brace height. This is brace height where the string's on the bow but it's not drawn back. Brace height distance is the distance from the handle to the string. And so since the string doesn't touch the limb at brace height, it's a longbow. On a recurve bow, as the string comes off the limb tip, then it touches the limb. That's the only difference between a longbow and a recurve. So there can be a whole scale of the amount of curve in a longbow before it actually becomes a recurve. Now, longbows are awesome, but a lot of people think recurves look really cool and they'd love to build a recurve. And a good way to think about it, if you're thinking about teaching a bow building class, is that the more curve you put in the limb, the more work it's going to be. So the more curve you put into the limb, the more you have to build a form, or the more you have to treat the wood, the more you have to heat the wood to get the recurve in the limb. Now, it can absolutely be done. It's just more work, and because it's more complicated, more opportunity for failure. So when I say the best style of bow, I'm talking about the simplest, easiest, highest chance of success. Because if it's someone's first time building a bow, I think that's a good place to start. Now, you absolutely do not have to start here, but you can. Now, what's the second best style of bow? I would say is a very similar bow to this, but with some reflex deflex. Now, reflex, all you do with that is you put some bend in the limb this way before you put the string on it. So it bends down this way, and then when you put the string on it, it stores a little bit more energy, a little bit more punch. Now, what if you want something a little bit more high performing? These are great, but they aren't the most high performance, they aren't most efficient as far as it comes to traditional bows. So if you want something more high performing, what I would suggest is the bare bones. This is a laminated bow that we build. When it's finished, it looks like this, but we sell a version that looks like this so that you can finish building it yourself. Basically what we did is we made it so you don't have to build a form, you don't have to have the materials, all of that's done for you, so all you have to do is shape the limbs, handle, and tip overlays. And we created a book that goes with this that you can follow step by step if you're looking for a more high performing bow. The rest of this video is going to be based on the assumption that you're building a board bow. A board bow meaning it was built from a board rather than a tree. A board is a tree, but a board bow meaning that it's built from a board. At Shatterproof Archery, we love empowering people to do things they thought they couldn't do, like building a bow or a bowstring. And for some people, though, maybe your goal is not to build a bow or a bowstring, but just to shoot a bow. And we love helping people like that as well. Here at Shatterproof Archery, we've got custom bows and bowstrings with ridiculous lead times for very affordable prices. Check it out, shatterproofarchery.com. So what is the best material to use for a board bow? I'll give you my top A through G, 7. I'll give you my top 7 woods that are great for building bows. Now you can absolutely use any wood to build a bow. The difference will be in performance and how likely it is to break. So number 1 obviously is hickory. I've already mentioned it. The reason why hickory is so good is because it's so good. With hickory, it's so strong that this is a 40-pound bow and it doesn't even need a backing. So that's one thing that's pretty amazing about hickory, whereas with most other woods, you're gonna wanna add a backing. Number 2 is Osage. Osage is great. It's a little bit more difficult to source, especially if you're looking at for it in board form. But we'll talk about a little bit later why Osage is such a good wood for bow building. Number 3 is white ash. Number 4 is red oak. Number 5 is black locust. Number 6 is hard maple. And number 7 is elm. Those are my top 7 woods to use, but if you have access to different wood, you can absolutely use that. But let me show you kind of what will happen with different woods that you use. This right here is a bow made out of poplar. And poplar is a lot softer wood than hickory. And so you can see that the poplar has this curve in it. This is called string follow. So basically the poplar is soft enough that it remembers how it was when it was strung up, and so it doesn't go back to straight. That makes it lose energy and can also cause it to be more likely to break. Whereas you can see on this hickory bow, there is some string follow, but not near as much as the poplar bow. So with softer woods, different woods, you can use whatever. However, that's kind of an example of the difference between high performing, more likely to be strong bows and weaker woods that don't make as good of bows. Now, why are some woods better than others? Well, it has to do with tension and compression. Compression is what's happening here on the belly of the bow. Really good bow woods are really good under compression. And then you add a backing that's good under tension. That's one thing that's special about hickory is it's good under both tension and compression. While other woods might be all right under compression, like epay, for example, hardwood, great under compression, but it's not as good under tension on the back of the bow. That pulling can lift a splinter. So where do you source the wood? Well, if you're doing a board bow, you can get it from like a local wood store. If you have access to trees, you can process wood down yourself. You can get it from a place like Lowe's or Home Depot. We get our hickory from a local hardwood place, and we sell them in the form of these 72-inch staves. And so you can also get it online. Basically anywhere you can find wood, your parents' furniture, studs in your walls, there's bows everywhere. Now, tension and compression bring up the next topic, which is backings. Backings are what are good under tension. Now, there's hundreds of different things you could use as a bow backing. And that's one thing special with hickory is you don't actually have to do one if you're building a bow. We've found about less than 40 pounds, you don't even need a backing. But what are some things you can use for backing? You can use fiberglass tape like on this one, like 7 layers of fiberglass tape with wood glue. You can use fiberglass backing. You can use a bamboo backing like this. This is seatbelt material on this bow. There's all sorts of different backings you can use, basically anything that's not gonna allow the bow to lift a splinter. You can glue it down with wood glue or CA glue or EA40, like a flexible epoxy. But in most cases, wood glue is going to be the simplest, best option. A good rule of thumb is to always use a backing except in these 3 specific situations. Number 1, you're building a really light draw weight bow. If you're building something that's a very light draw weight, like I'm saying like 10, 15 pounds, then many woods can withstand that without lifting up a splinter. The second area where you don't need a backing is if you're doing a hickory bow, less than 40 pounds. It seems to hold up fine even if you don't have a backing. And the third area you don't need a backing is with an Osage bow. Now, Osage bows have been used all the way back from the Osage Indians. They would travel up to 200 miles just to get this wood because it's so good at making bows. And what's special about the Osage wood is that you can chase a growth ring. So if you look at the growth rings on a tree, if you follow the growth ring, that acts like a backing. I'm sure you can do this with other woods as well, but especially Osage is known for chasing the growth ring and using that as the backing for the bow. Now, even if you're building like a hickory bow and you want to increase your odds of success, if you add a backing, it gives you more forgiveness than if you don't have a backing. So if you're like, I want to for sure build a good bow, what I would suggest is doing a hickory bow with either a fiberglass tape backing. That'd be the least expensive. You can get that fiberglass mesh tape for like a couple bucks, and then wood glue, and do like 7 layers of fiberglass tape and the wood glue. Here's a video on how to do that. Or another great backing if you want to go more natural materials is bamboo. This bamboo with nodes makes an excellent backing because it's so good under tension, and it adds a lot of speed, or it can add speed as well to the bow. And so with this bamboo, you can flatten down the belly, make sure the glue up's good, boom, and then you've got a bamboo backed bow. If you're going above 40 pounds with a hickory bow, or you just want to increase your odds of success, using bamboo like this, super helpful. Now, if you followed one of the videos on how to build a bow, now all you need is a bow string. Now, what do you do about a bowstring? Well, you got a couple of options. Number 1 is you can build your own string. This would be the cheapest option. What I'd suggest is getting a spool of B55 material and some 0.020 inch serving. And you can even do this without a serving jig. A serving jig is helpful, but you don't even have to have it, and you can build it yourself. We have a video on how to build your own string. We also have a kit where we wrap the bundles for you, so it's already cut to size, and then you just twist it together. That's another option. Comes with just enough serving for that one string. Another option is to buy a string that's finished. Now, what string should you buy? Well, if you build your own bow, no backing, a board bow like this, I'd suggest B55 string. It's going to stretch and be the most gentle on the bow. If you get like a fast flight string, it's going to be more harsh on the bow and has a chance of breaking it. If you add a backing and add tip overlays are reinforced tips, then you could do like a D97 or maybe even fast flight string. Now, what length of string should you get? Well, the string length is based on bow length measured string groove. So where the string goes in here to string groove on this side. So string groove to string groove is called the AMO length. So this is probably a 70-inch string groove to string groove, and we're going to subtract 3 inches from that, so a 67-inch string. So you want to measure string groove to string groove along the curve of the bow. So if you put some reflex in it, follow the curve of the bow, and then subtract 3 inches if it's a long bow. If it's a recurve, then subtract 4 inches. Now that you've got your bow, you've got your string, the only thing you need now is arrows. Now, as you're looking for arrows, what you want to look for, the most important thing with traditional arrows is to get feathered fletchings. Feathered fletchings fold up like this, opposed to non-feathered fletchings or vanes. They're just plastic and they don't fold up. If you use vanes instead of feathered fletchings, what's likely going to happen, the arrow will bounce off to the side when you shoot it and it won't fly straight. Whereas with feathered fletchings, it folds up and will still fly straight down range. That's the most important thing you need to know about arrows. The second most important thing is arrow spine. Now, if you don't care about your arrows flying straight, then arrow spine doesn't really matter. But if you want your arrows to fly straight, then spine is helpful. Spine is just how much the arrow bends. So a higher spine, 700, is 0.7. That's how much it bends. Whereas 300 is 0.3 inches. That's how much it bends. This is what's important about arrow spine. When you match up the spine, how much it bends, with the draw weight, then the arrow flies straight. If it's not matched up, then the arrow might fly a little bit to one side or another. It'll still go down range and still fly to the target, but it might fly like this instead of like this. I've created a chart for arrow spine so you can kind of get a range of what spine to look for different draw weights. If you get close, it's helpful just for accuracy. Arrow flying straighter is nice, but you don't have to go super in depth on arrow spine. This chart is accurate for our arrows, our carbon arrows that we sell, and it's probably close for other arrows as well, but different manufacturers can have different charts for their arrow spine. So this is what works well for our arrows. We also have wood arrows if you're interested in going more natural with the wood. Carbon are a bit more durable, where wood are a bit more pure feeling, I would say. Feels more solid when you shoot a wood arrow than a carbon arrow. But carbon are less expensive and more durable. If I was teaching a bow building class, this is what I would want to keep in mind as I was teaching. Number one, this is an adventure. It's not just to get an end product. So focus more on formation than the end product. Number two is the pace of the class. Now, there might be some students that are a lot faster and some that are a lot slower, some that are more methodical and like taking their time, and some that just want the product, the thing to be finished. And I would say that that's okay. I would say the areas to really slow down are in preparation for if you're doing like a glue up, something like that, or you're laying out the bow. Slow down in preparation and slow down in tillering, especially towards the end of tillering. Tillering is just getting the bow to bend the way you want it to bend, and that's usually evenly, making the limbs bend evenly. So as you are teaching this class, encourage your students to slow down, especially in those areas, in the prep, in the tillering process. But for the rest of the build, I'd say kind of let them go at the pace they want to go. And if you can, have some backup staves just in case they break it. Maybe they fly through it and they snap it, and you've got a backup so they can try again. That might be a more teaching. They might learn more from that than from going super slow and never even finishing the project. Another tip I have for teaching is that when you're finished, shoot the bows. I know this might not be an option depending on where you're teaching the class, but if you can, schedule a day to go out or bring a target into your shop. As long as no one's in front of the arrow, you should be pretty safe as long as your bow doesn't explode. And I would say finish the class, or if you can, throughout the class, shoot the bows. It's such a rewarding process to build something and then to be able to shoot it. And you're like, I did this, like I built this. What are your odds for success? I don't know. It depends on the bow builder. But if you follow these steps in the video and the videos I recommended, you probably will build a bow that works as long as you don't rush it, if you enjoy the process. But what's most important is that we're formed. And so let building to the best of your ability, shatterproof bow make you more shatterproof as well, in your class more shatterproof. And if you have any questions, anything that you don't know the answer to, if you just need to bounce some ideas off, we're here and we're happy to help. We love helping more people enjoy more archery. Feel free to give us a call at 719-232-1434, or you can email us at contact@shatterproofarchery.com. And we're here to help. We love helping people build their own bows, shoot bows, enjoy archery, and we love helping more people become more shatterproof. Stay shatterproof. We'll see you on the next video. If you're still here, thanks so much for watching. And this is just a little postscript for those of you who want to build a bow building class, but you don't know where or how to start. Like, how do you do it? We've worked with high school teachers. We've worked with college professors. We've worked with youth group leaders and small groups that build bows. And so if you need any connections or any help with How would I get my high school to build a bow bending class? Or is this possible to bring to my university? That sort of thing. Feel free to reach out to us, and we'd love to connect you with anyone that could be helpful for you. Thanks so much.